Can
Yeah,
we
we
fire
can't
him?
hear you, Joe.
Can we fire him?
No, I said, don't change anything on the StreamYard because I do full screen on my end.
No. I meant like in the corner where you can make
on
it
his computer screen.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah, then that doesn't matter.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. I just didn't know if that affected anything.
Okay.
Cool.
Ready?
All right.
You guys good?
Yeah.
I think so.
Still want to fire him.
It's time for Bourbon with Friends, the bourbon podcast that never takes itself too seriously. Pull up a chair, grab a glass, and remember, a bourbon with friends can change the world. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bourbon with Friends. Myself, Adrian, and Martin are here to talk about whiskeys from around the world and how a bourbon with friends or a drink with friends can change the world. How was your guys' weekend?
Good.
It
Adrian,
was good.
how was yours?
Yeah, it was great. I actually didn't have to work at the distillery this weekend, so I got
Ooh
to
la la.
enjoy some
Ooh.
friend time. So that was pretty nice.
Nice.
about you,
Little
Martin?
Well, what did I didn't nothing. I just again I feel like I'm continuing with this weird trend of drinking more beer on the weekends than whiskey, which is odd.
What are you even doing?
I don't know. I've just been in a beer kick. I don't know what it is. It's just like it just seems like I don't know. Just like I think it's just because there's football at the bars and just like not that I watch it, but like I just go there and I just like eat pizza and burgers and like for some reason I just haven't. I think it's become. I think I have figured out what it is. So I think
You're
it's
trying to
because
gain weight.
I'm trying to get fat. I'm trying to just see how I can balloon up.
I just
No,
don't
but-
know how you could want beer over whiskey. I just
Well,
don't understand that.
I think it's because a lot of the bars here, to be fair, don't have a fantastic selection.
Oh,
I have
okay.
more than they do, and so like why would I go to a bar and drink not to besmirch any kind of
subpar whiskey.
yeah,
I got
it's
you.
not
I feel
subpar.
you.
It's like yesterday, like there was someone and they were drinking a Buffalo Trace, and I was just like, yes, I'd rather I don't need to drink that. I know what that tastes like.
What would you rather drink? What would you rather drink if it was?
I already
on
know what he'd rather drink, but it's going to be something related to. It starts with a D.
Come on now.
Okay. We want to get into this, do we? So when we started this podcast, by the way, there was one distiller that I wanted to get on.
Yep.
One person, one distiller that I wanted to get in, and it is the gentleman that we have today. Everybody, welcome in Seth Dettling.
Awesome. Thank you
What's
all
up,
for
brother?
having me.
Absolutely.
Hi,
Yeah,
Seth.
thanks for coming on.
Cheers.
Cheers. Honestly,
Cheers for sure.
Right. Yeah. Let me grab another glass.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I have 4 glasses of whiskey right here, all
You
different
have
ones.
small samples, so you have to.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not small. You
No.
were very generous.
That was a
We
very generous
appreciate it.
sample.
Yes, you were very generous. Don't even. Yeah.
No. No,
So,
absolutely not.
we'll get started and just if you're up for it, let us know a little bit about yourself and what your role is at the distillery.
Yeah, so it's been kind of a journey. It's evolved over time, but it's just a culmination, a focus of trying to make the best whiskey possible, and doing it in an authentic, transparent way, without all the the kind of the marketing BS. So if doesn't make better whiskey, I'm just not interested. So that's basically the golden rule here: is does it make better whiskey? If it does, I'm interested. If it doesn't, I'm not. That kind of thing. So that's really what we're all about, is whiskey focus, not visitors, not t-shirts, not tasting rooms and all of that stuff. We don't do any of it.
Yeah.
We just make whiskey and do the best we can do. I'm always learning. So it's just a continual process. So today is like a snapshot in time of what we were doing 5, 6 years ago, and what I knew 4, 5, or 6 years ago. So that's always changing. So that means the whiskey's always going to be changing and hopefully getting better all the time. That's really the goal. Figure
Well, it
out.
certainly shows in your product, and if your
I think
whiskey
I
gets
think it
better
is.
than it is right now,
Oh, it
Lord help us
does.
all.
No,
Because
it does. 110%. Like, that's not even a question.
Yeah.
The best whiskey hasn't left the building at all.
Oh, my.
So it's not a question of will it be better. It already is. It just hasn't left.
Well, I think we have a mutual friend out there that's been stealing from your barrels and telling us how
Yeah.
good it is.
Yeah. Jake.
I wasn't gonna throw him under the bus like that.
I'll throw Boss
Jesus.
under the bus. I love Jake. He's
He
a
likes
good
being
friend.
under the bus.
He likes being under the bus. Yeah,
that he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have these guys come over and we'll sample large arrays of barrels and grade those barrels and make decisions. So it's something that I invite people to come and do that on occasion, and it's a really important aspect. It's one of the modifications that I've made recently is to taste everything and grade everything within a time frame where I can make decisions. So if you come here for a barrel pick before maybe 6 months ago or last year, even I would just pull random barrels and we were just throwing darts. And you'd get every now and then you'd get something really great that way, but you would also get some kind of throwaways in that lineup. And that's really not what we're about. I don't want the miss.
Yeah.
So it's super important to have people around you that'll tell you the truth and have great palates and, try to minimize that variation in terms of the misses. And then the ones that are not to standard, what does that whiskey need? It might need time, but usually it just needs another location with new oak. So that's something I'm super picky about. If a barrel's not going the right way, I will snatch it in a heartbeat and I'll put it in new oak again, of a different cooperage, a different style, different toast, different char, whatever. And maybe even put it somewhere where it's less heat or more heat, and have more barrels make it to that kind of finish line of single barrel grade. So you have your bottled and bond. You have like a needs improvement. You have like a bottled and bond. You have a single barrel cut. Then you have maybe barrel pick, which is sort of single barrel plus, and then you'd have that kind of honey barrel grade that I wish was more frequent, but
yes,
those need to be treated with total respect. Whereas before, sometimes those would get picked, in a barrel pick because I wasn't aware of them, and that's how we found them. And that's really not the best thing for the brand and for the whiskey moving forward, because that stuff needs to stay. And sorry, I've got the radio. And maybe leave as a gold top 6, 7 years from now, that kind of thing.
okay.
So yeah, that's one of the big changes recently is we're sampling lots and all of them, all the barrels, and it's a lot of work.
That's a lot of drinking. It's what it sounds like.
It's a lot of smelling.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. You have to get really good at it. I might do 10 or 20 barrels at a time, and it's mostly nosing, and then you sort of taste for confirmation. But if the color's not right, it's just not gonna make the cut. I love dark whiskey. I really do.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Well,
Isn't that nice? Like when you look
Yeah.
at it and you get excited because it's so beautiful.
It's so dark. Yes.
Yes. But the whiskey
For
has
me,
to
that's
hold up.
100%.
It does. Yeah. That one we were talking about before we started recording, that 65, like I remember bringing that. Like I said, I got it in Illinois when I moved back up to the Midwest. I went over to Benny's because I was in Colorado before this and I couldn't find you guys there, obviously. And I remember bringing it back, and my brother-in-law goes, "Is that like fucking Bermuda rum or something like that?" I'm like, "No, I'm like, it's Dettling." I'm like,
It's
I told
dark.
you about this. It's dark as shit.
Whiskey.
I'm like,
Yes.
it's bourbon. And he goes, "Wow," and like it's like, yeah, it's. I do too. I got into bourbons oddly enough through single malts, American
Ooh.
single malts, because I was always more of a Scottish single malt fan. That's kind of how I started in whiskey. My family's from Scotland, so it just sort of made sense. So that's where I went first, and then I discovered that I was into bourbons. It's not that I'd never had bourbons, but it was through I was in Texas at the time, so it was people like Balcones who were also doing some stuff that was very, they were doing some like their blue corn bourbon stuff, and it was just very dark. And just I remember seeing a picture of one of your bottles and being like, "That's dark. I want to try that. Where is it?" And then it took me about 3 or 4 years to finally track it down. And then when I got it and had that bottle in my hand, I'm like, it's as dark as it looked in that picture. It wasn't lighting. It is just dark. So I agree. Darker whiskey. There's a complexity to it. You can't really put you can't really like define almost sometimes. It's just so good.
But just because it's dark doesn't mean it's good though.
No, you're right. There is some bad
Because
ones.
I've got a bunch that are dark that something's not right. So if you have small barrels, you can put on color. I don't know all of the ways that things go off the rails with whiskey. It's maybe no one does. I don't know, but I'm always surprised. So I'll see something dark, like, okay, this is interesting, and I'll smell it. And if it doesn't have that kind of number 2 pencil thing going on, like the small barrels do, then you dive in, and hopefully the palate holds up its end of the bargain. And when it doesn't, it's really a letdown.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's tough to buy whiskey based on appearance. It really,
Yeah.
it is.
It is.
Especially when it's from Texas. I mean, yeah, no, that's not right.
Oh my god.
Fuck. I'm gonna get in
I'm
trouble
not a
for that one.
Texas whiskey guy. I gotta tell you.
That's a big state. Brian's like insult the whole,
It's
but I
huge.
agree. Yeah, it's there are hits. There's more misses than hits. That's for sure.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Seth, with everything that you've done, you have a rich family history in the US and with whiskey in general. I mean, you started your company in 2014, but before then your family came from Switzerland and has an ongoing history. I mean, on the back of your bottle it says a family that starts no comparisons to shortcuts, no sourcing, just a new chapter in a family brand that started in 1867. Can you explain that a little bit to people who don't know your guys' history?
So if you think about it, like how much space you have on a label to say a lot, you have very little space.
Yes.
So what I was really trying to say there is we're not MGP.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Whoever's I just put a finger in. I'm sorry, not sorry.
No, who cares?
But
okay. I like MGP too, but I don't even care. So.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, but that's okay. Like that's totally fine. I just don't think we really made everything. So that's a completely different story. And I was an enthusiast, and I was learning how the industry was real shady and sketch. And, it was some mobster's recipe, and it wasn't. I mean, we have to go back a little bit before some of the lawsuits kind of worked their way through. People started telling a little more truth and started having some transparency. There's nothing wrong with having MGP whiskey. Just like, tell me,
Yeah. But there's something to be said for green to glass. I mean, there's something to be said for what you're doing. So,
Yes, but it has to be good.
Yeah.
Yes. It
Okay,
has to be
so
good.
grain to glass is a great starting point, but if the whiskey's shit, I still don't care.
Yeah.
So the whiskey has to be awesome. But I wanted to say right off the bat that when you read this label, like, this is not from Indiana.
Right.
Okay, and then in terms of like the family history, I was totally unaware of it, 100%. It wasn't until we were doing, we wanted to use Dettling as a brand,
Yeah.
and we did what's called a clearance search. So the attorney looks through the trademarks that are registered with the trademark office. Turns out Dettling was a liquor brand registered in 1867, still in continual operation. The original distillery was still in operation at that time as well. And, making that revelation and making those connections with the ownership, and they invited me over. So I was able to go to Brunnen and spend time in that original distillery, which is now closed. Their operations are consolidated with another distillery, which is just kind of how it works in Switzerland. The real estate's so expensive.
Yeah,
You can't have small distilleries. The real estate's so expensive. It's unbelievable. So things of things are what they are in Switzerland. I had that opportunity to register the trademark for Class 2 spirits, and through that negotiation was successful. So that's why it says a new chapter.
Yeah.
So our focus
Love that.
isn't what happened 150, 160 years ago for people that I never met or didn't even know they existed. That's not why I got into whiskey manufacturing. That's just a later discovery. It was just, if it impacted me, it was one of those, things that you can't explain, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So that's not why I did it. I did it because I felt like, originally I thought would be cool. I thought this would be fun. I was wrong about that. What parts of it are cool, but it is really, it's a tough business. It really is. But I wanted to um, I wanted to define what a whiskey or bourbon made in Alabama could be or should be, because others, had planted the flag, but they hadn't actually done any whiskey
Yeah.
production. So I wanted to really show what was possible, and then do it in a way that was a little bit different than Kentucky, because I love Kentucky bourbon, but not so different that I would have to explain it to a customer, right? I wanted you smell it, you taste it, you're like, yes, this is
Mhm.
bourbon. It's a little different. It's different for a lot of reasons. Mash bill is a big one, but terroir, obviously that's huge. It's really hot here. So it was going to make its own fingerprint, and I was going to allow that to take place and sort of embrace it and let that kind of speak for itself. So that's kind of our thing. I don't want someone to buy the bottle because someone a long time ago did something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like we're a new chapter, so we're all about like who we are and where we are and what we're doing, and that's our 100% focus.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay. I mean, you're providing a context of a family that you never knew, but kind of did at the same time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, maybe on a level that we can't understand,
Yeah.
Right.
but it's
Yes.
kind of an American story, because I mean, how many of us, you think about, I mean, my great grandfather came into Ellis Island, and you can look on the internet and you can find his signature in the book. Like, that's a very common American story. And those folks, all of them were teenagers in our side, our family, both families, was two families that came over together, all teenagers, like 18, 19 years old on a steamship, which, I don't think you'd want to put an 18-year-old on a steamship today, but that's what they did. And once you got here, just kind of forgot about it. They didn't, the history just got lost. And I'm sure that's really common for a lot of American families. You get here and you're just, they all work. In my family, they all worked in steel mills, and my siblings are the first ones not to work in steel mills. So they just came over and they just tried to provide for their families, and that was it.
I know the feeling. I didn't know my family history either.
Yeah.
No, that's a lie, Seth. My last name's Dewar. My family was Dewar Scotch.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
For real.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool. You should have been able to figure that one out. You just go to the liquor store and walk around and be like, huh, that's familiar.
This is weird.
Let me Google me and find out.
Yeah.
I did Google me. It's not a good time.
It's not there?
Yeah.
Oh, not anymore.
They just skipped them.
They just skipped me. Everybody else is there in the family.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. It just says Brian, but it's scratched out and it's spelled Brian. Just like
That's awesome.
Well, with that, I'm gonna shut up now.
Yeah. Well, so I did have another question, but honestly, you kind of answered most of it. It was really more just kind of I think like about your approach, and you've obviously we've talked about that. I think maybe the part of the question that I do want to ask, just because I find for me interesting, especially I guess not necessarily related to what you do, but like on the blending side of whenever we have people on that do like actually like blending, I was very curious like where that stopping point is. And I guess the question I have for you is when it comes to when you go around, you pull a barrel and you're like, yeah, this is ready. Do you have something in your head that tells you that, or is it really just in the moment?
I think it's experience.
Yeah.
But we're wrong a lot. So I'll give you a really, really current example of this. I had some guys here from Switzerland, and European Bourbon and Rye Association. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of the OG of bourbon clubs, rye clubs, and they travel the world and they just find the best whiskeys they can and bring them back. And one of the things that the head guy does, he has a very large whiskey collection. It's a working collection, and so he's buying things. And then all of the vintage whiskey that's being sold in Switzerland is basically coming from this one particular person. They don't have the same legal structure that we do here, so these sorts of things can take place. So he was here, and I tasted them on our rye, which was about to come out at the time, and it was 4 years old. Now, to me, it was like, yeah, this is ready. This is really good. This is what I was hoping for, in a surprising way, right? But when they tasted it, they tried to buy all of it, which is good, but they didn't want to bottle it. They wanted me to keep the barrels for 2 years, and then they would send for it. As they said, I'll send for it. So here's someone with 25 years, 30 years more experience than I have in that game. Thousands of bottles of vintage whiskey. Okay. The largest collection in the world of Red Hook rye. All those original wax top Willets, like, not a big deal. They're just drinking that stuff at club meetings. I mean, $30,000 bottles open on the table.
That's insane.
It's insane. I know. It's not relatable.
No.
But it's true.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I shouldn't release a 4-year-old rye.
Okay.
Maybe it should be 6. So here we are. The rye turned 6 in February. I also have 4-year-old rye as well, which is really good. But when you drink the 4-year-old rye today, you'd be forgiven for saying, "Hey, this is good. You should bottle this." Until you taste the 6-year-old rye, and then you go, "Yeah, that would have been a mistake." You definitely, because the difference between right off the still and 4 years is about as big of the difference as 4 years to 6. It is unrecognizable game changer difference. Now, I just didn't know. I just didn't have the experience. I just hadn't been through this. Really hard decision because I needed the money. You got to have money. But when I say my focus is the whiskey, like I really mean it, like 110%. If I can not go broke, I'm gonna do it. And I decided that we did sell bourbon young because that was a survival decision. I was just at my breaking point, one of many times.
That was a small batch, right? The one that was you guys were doing for a while.
But even single barrels were young too, originally. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean they were good and they were promising, but I'd love to have them all back.
Yeah, right.
But that's not the way. That's just not the way life works. I mean, you just have to say, okay, I don't despise humble beginnings, and I didn't know what I know today, and it's okay. It's fine. I'm just going to take this knowledge and I'm going to apply it. So I applied it to the rye, and the rye is going to launch as a 6-year. And it's pretty awesome. Like, I'm really excited about it. So that's going to be an example of me learning over time, because you ask, how do you know if it's ready? You only know what you know.
Yeah.
I mean, who has 6-year-old rye whiskey aged in Alabama? It's not
you.
I know one
me,
guy.
probably.
You.
Like I know one guy.
Probably me.
There's this guy I know.
Yeah, I know
One
a guy.
I know
Yeah,
somebody.
It's probably me, and I was totally wrong about it. At 4 years, I was totally wrong about it. So it's awesome at 6. So also with the bourbon too, I like the bourbon older. Now some of the older releases are you have to think about, if you bought a bottle 2 years ago that was 6 years old, that's an 8-year ago knowledge snapshot that you're seeing.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned a lot in 8 years. So that's one of the reasons why I can say with 100% total confidence, the future is going to be super bright, because we are learning a lot. I'm implementing those things. And in the future, when the results begin to, come to fruition, it's going to make you guys will be glad that you rode this ride with me, because it's going to be good. It's going to be really good. And the starting point's not bad. I mean, we're at a really good point right now. But it's even better.
Yeah.
What's coming?
I trust you, man. Like, I mean, like, honest, like, if it's, better than this, and obviously better can mean a lot of things. Better can just be what you've learned and more experience goes into it. It's not always that necessarily like, oh, well, what we were doing before wasn't great. It's just like, you can just tell in the product that you learned something, you made shifts, you made pivots, and it got you to a point where it's getting closer to that vision, I guess, of why you did this. So I do have some questions on the ride, because literally everybody that I talk to wants to know about it. So
I'm excited about it.
I am too. I know that I did want to talk about the sample, just because we have a script. Sometimes I don't stick to it, Seth.
No,
And
he never.
Oh, I don't
he
care.
never. No,
Like,
I
he
don't
never
care.
follows
to
a
it.
script at all. It's fine.
I go off the map, and I just especially for like when we really get into kind of like the real nerdy shit about whiskey. I love it. So we can go on tangents. So I will say that we should probably do the sample. So Seth was gracious enough to send us this sample. I'm already there with it. So Seth,
Technically, Vicky was gracious enough to send it.
well, thank you, Vicky. Thank
Because
you,
if it was
Vicky.
up to me, you guys would. I don't have enough. There's not enough time.
Oh, I totally get it. No, I totally get it.
She was
But
bottling that, and I said, "Hey, we need to send this right now, or it's not going to make it." And
Yeah.
she was bottling that barrel, and so she's like, "How about this one?" So grabbed some sample bottles and just filled them right off the bottle filling machine, and printed off your emails, your addresses, and off they went. And I'm so glad it showed up.
yeah, I literally got
That's
mine
a
today. I
really
walked to the mailbox
Yeah.
and got it.
Mine
was like,
mine
yes.
came on Saturday.
Yeah.
good, because that's what the tracking said. It would be a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm probably the closest to Alabama.
Well, but the
Just a
mail,
little bit. Yeah.
goodness,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
knows?
I live in the
I'm-
middle of nowhere, so I'm just happy it showed up.
Yes.
Yeah.
You live in the mountains. But if you did, if you want to talk a little bit about what this sample was, just because all of us are drinking different Dettlings at the moment. I know Joe's in the background drinking a couple cool picks that we've gotten from Dettling. We've got something. I got like the Fireman's pick. I've got that a couple other barrel picks that were. But this one that you sent, you talked about a little bit behind the scenes. But if you wanted to talk a little bit about that one.
Yeah, I think it's really representative of what is fall of this year in terms of barrels. I filled a lot of independent stave barrels of different types in a particular time frame, a little over 4 years ago, obviously. And some of that is just part of learning what cooperage, toast, char, all of these things, how they're going to play out here, because it's going to be unique to our location. So that's an independent stave barrel. I don't recall which one specifically it was. Feel like it was a number one char for some reason. I think it was number one char. I think it was a Big Escambia Toast number one is what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. So the number one char, all the independent staves for us are in that sort of butterscotch caramel tobacco category. Whereas the Kelvin Cooper is like your fireman pick that you have. That's going to be a heavy toast number 3 char Kelvin. That's more the dark fruits that you see. Chocolate is more prominent there. I think the chocolate in the whiskey with independent stave I think it kind of morphs into tobacco, like a fresh cut English tobacco. I can't be totally sure, but that's just, that's what I think is happening. And that number one char, those barrels have done really well. And with our heat, the char level, I guess maybe is really not that critical, because our penetration is very deep. So it doesn't really matter where the flavor layer is in that oak, we're going to get it.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I thought that the color for it being a number one char, I thought the color was still really dark. I'm the novice here. I'm sure that's not a surprise to you, but to me, I would expect, a number one char to not have this much color, but
I know, but that's just not really what my experience is.
is it okay?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I I figured a 4 char would just have more color, but
Yeah.
it kind of doesn't. It's just how long it
Okay.
takes. Yeah.
Okay.
The number one, like the flavor layer and the char layer, like they're right at the surface. So it's just boom. Like within 6 weeks, it's like crazy what happens in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10, 12.
Oh yeah.
A number 4, that's a year commitment before you even like understand what direction it's going, because it is so deep. So yeah, it totally matters. But yeah, the color and another thing too, like I think this is true. Probably everything that you're tasting is double oaked at least.
That's my favorite.
So your number 1 char was the second barrel.
Really?
First barrel, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I don't have any number 1 char that's original fill. So what I'll do is I'll get the best barrels I possibly can, and I'm learning a lot about that. So some that I used to get, I don't get anymore. And after 2-3 years, that's when you really want to analyze that whiskey and see which direction it's going. And you might have 4 barrels all from the exact same cooper, exact same day, everything. And 3 of them are just spot on, and 1 of them just is a straw color. It looks like it came from Kentucky. Well, you're not going to, time's not going to fix that. I'm sorry. It just isn't. I mean, we've got 10, 15-year-old Kentucky whiskey that's straw colored. Time's not going to fix it. I'm sorry. That's a barrel issue, 110%. So if I see it at 2-3 years, I'm not going to expect the time to fix it. I'm going to fix it, and I will taste the whiskey and see what it has, what its starting point is, what I think it needs, and then think about my barrel options and what my experience is with those. And I will order an appropriate barrel to rebarrel it in. And that gives it the fullness, the complexity, the color, the palate, the finish, all of those things. And sometimes it's number 1. Yeah, that's a great choice, because they're high performing barrels. The yields are good, so the angel share is a lot lower. I don't know why, but it just is, and it's just one of those things that I use a lot. Like all of our bonded releases this year are all double oaked and number 1. The second oak is all number 1 char on those.
Okay.
What's the average time frame in those barrels?
I think the one you have was rebarreled in June 2022.
Really?
I think so, yeah. So a year and a half, something like that.
Year and a half, and then you had 3 years before that?
That's right.
Wow.
Well, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to drink anything that you're going to produce. It's
Well,
fucking amazing. So
yeah.
I had a
It's
couple
in the
other
weeds.
expressions, and this
Yeah.
one, any opportunity I get, there's not going to be a question.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm just learning as I go, and this is just one of those fairly successful attempts at rounding whiskey out and trying to have more consistency in terms of color and complexity in those layers. My favorite barrels are what I call storyteller barrels. Those are the ones that they check all the boxes, but every time you take a sniff or a taste, it's different within one glass. And it's so surprising when whiskey can do this. And I love whiskey like that. And they tend to be a little, maybe a little loud in the beginning. So if you're impatient, you may miss it. But if you spend time with it, then you realize that it's like this rabbit trail of a glass of whiskey. And it's so amazing. And those are the ones that I like to use for the gold wax releases. Yeah. And I have 3 right now that meet that requirement. without any hesitation. If you taste it and you're like not sure, it's not gold. So not everyone gets it, but like that's the idea is whiskey that you must spend time with, and it's going to reward you with all of these layers of just really awesome. And I like the whiskey too that's not the case, because you don't always want to be thinking about it.
No.
You know, you have modern stressful lives. I mean, sometimes you just need like a reliable, good dram, and that's fine. It's all in context. And but if you're somewhere where it's quiet and you want to spend time with, you know, half an hour with a glass of whiskey and really see where it can go, the storyteller barrels are, man, they're impossible to beat.
They really are. You had I got one of you guys' bottled and bonds. It was the I know that there's supposed to be the orange wax.
That's right.
But I got the one that was the gold dipped one.
Yeah, because we ran out of orange wax.
Because you ran out. I love that story. And like, to me, that's a storyteller thing. I mean, like, that's just like, I know that it's not technically, but like at the same time, like when I learned that, I think I posted about it. I don't know if it was you that responded to my post. But
it
like,
was. It's me.
Yeah. So like, but like when I learned that, I'm like, that's just that. Obviously, the whiskey's great, but like it just added to like, that's so cool that like there's like this. It's just a thing. We ran out of this kind of wax, and we put this one on it. Yeah, and like to me, that's cool. Like I love stuff like that. Like when you find out like these little happy mistakes that end up happening through like things like, you know, oh, I didn't have this kind of wax, so I put this.
It
on
makes
it
it more real.
Yeah,
And it
there's
really lends authenticity, and it very much lends to what he's trying to say. It's very much a no BS type of approach. Like,
yeah, it's super anti-BS. So gold wax didn't mean anything at that time. It just was a cool color.
Yeah.
Gold wax came into being because of Smith. This release. It's going to be impossible to tell on the camera, but this is a 700 milliliter bottle.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, for Europe.
Wow.
Yeah, for Europe.
Yeah.
And it's a 66-month, 5707. And it says 70 centiliters. Probably backwards on your screen. Super cool. Doesn't have a Surgeon General warning on it, which is awesome. Imported by Dettling Marmot. This is that European Bourbon and Rye Association. They say when they were here, they bought three barrels, and one of them was just like perfect almost, and they couldn't remember which one was perfect. So it's like, I need you to retaste these 3 barrels that we bought. We want an orange wax on one, just this one, also 66. We want a silver wax on the number 2, which is this one, which is 63 month, and then we want a gold wax on the best one. And literally, the tiebreaker between the gold and silver was airtime.
Jesus.
I mean, that's how precise this was. And I had help on this. I can't remember who came. That's a shame, but actually, it was a couple of guys. Were here, and I was like, "Here, help me. Let's taste these 2." They were in tanks, and we had them head to head. Like, let's taste these 2 and see which one's the best. And they are so amazing. But the gold, in just a few minutes, it just blossoms out in the glass, and it just starts emitting all of these potpourris and perfumes, and it's just, and the silver does too. You just wait 10 minutes and it's right there. But like, everything's there, the color, the palette, the finish, the nose, is just exquisite. So that was so successful. I was like, well, maybe I should just make that a thing, you know? Like, when I find a barrel that just like our top 1%, let's just throw gold wax on it. And so your bottled and bond predates the the gold wax. Like today, we would not, if we ran out of wax. Well, first of all, we wouldn't run out of wax, I don't think, because
we figured that out.
well,
Yeah.
There's three of us.
Yeah.
And we've made some changes, and we're in it hands on every day. So we're tracking everything very, very precisely, and I think we would know if we were running low on something, because like we have these discussions every day. We're discussing boxes earlier. I mean, how many boxes do we have, and how many months is that? How long does it take to get boxes, and all these kinds of things. And so this stuff didn't, back in the day, you just make an order and get anything you wanted just right away. And today that's not how any of this works.
No, not in a post-COVID world. This doesn't work that way anymore.
At all. So you
Yeah.
really have to be on it. So I don't think we would have that mistake. But if we did, I would not put gold wax on it. Because that does predate that. But that particular bonded release, that was that goes way back. Those are Kelvin barrels. Probably.
It's done, but I got the bottle. I'll go grab it real quick.
I don't know. Jake's in the background right now, and he could probably answer this question by typing.
Probably can. And I've got a chat notification. Do we have messages that come through?
Who's Jake?
Yeah. So
there's a chat in the within the StreamYard
When was that bottled? On the side label.
Yeah, 9/22/22. 2018 was the distillation campaign. July of 2018.
Distillation campaign. That's how the Germans talk about it.
They do, yeah. I thought that was cool too.
Yeah, I stole that.
I
was there, I was in I was at Aspec, which is a little, pretty significant brandy distillery in Germany, and they always talked about things in terms of campaigns, and I loved that linguistic expression of because it kind of, we don't have campaigns here because it's just 24. We're just, it's not 24/7, but like we don't stop making bourbon, whereas they're reliant upon great maturation and that being an annual event, and that you're gearing up and you're distilling wines that you can get, and they're from different regions and different varietals all the time. It's super complex. Everything's a little different, and they have to keep it all segregated, and they have to blend them in to make them consistent. It is a really fascinating process to see behind the scenes and beautiful. Then they put food coloring and sugar in it and ruin it.
Yeah.
I know, but oh my God, y'all, just trust me, it is insane how good it is for it's Americanized.
Adulterated, yeah.
Oh, it's so sad. It is amazing how good it is. But yeah, they talk about things in terms of campaigns. So I stole that. The Bald and Bond Act, you have 2 seasons, which is weird, I guess. So I named it Distillation Campaign, just to kind of steal from them a little bit.
I don't know, like it evokes like an event. Like it's more like, it feels more like an event than just like saying, well, this is a season we did it in, or whatever it is. Like, it evokes something a little cooler than that. So no, I like that was the first time I ever said that. Actually, I think I remember messaging Jake like when I got this. I'm like, what does that mean? And then he kind of gave a similar explanation. And I was like, that's really cool. I'm like, I really like I like the wording of that. That's cool shit. Like when it's just a little different, because people aren't used to that. I mean, people aren't used to like a lot of like some of like the liquor laws and stuff like overseas compared to what we have here in the States. So even like the nomenclatures and the different things that you say, the verbiage that people use over there, they're not used to. So when you say it over here, they're just like, that does sound better.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I think that maybe the highest compliment is some of the aspects of that label have been, I wouldn't say stolen, but they have appeared other places,
Yeah.
and I see them and I go, that's cool, because they totally lifted it off of our label 110%.
Well, isn't that one of the best forms of flattery?
Mm-hmm. And it's totally fine.
Imitation.
Yeah, it is. It is. I might retire that aspect of the label. I'm actually may retire Bald Bond altogether at some point.
I was curious about that.
Yeah, well, remember the focus is the whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a expiration date, unfortunately, just like the small batch did. I mean,
yeah,
when it was time for small batch to go, it was way past time for it to go, and it was by far a bestseller. But it had to go. That's not what we're here for. We're not here for low proof, low age statement bourbon. That's not what we're trying to do. And the cannibalization that takes place. So when you're selling something at almost 3 years old, it's not turning 4.
Yeah.
It's not going to turn 5. It's not going to turn 6.
Yeah.
So you have to take the hit. And it was a big hit. It was a surprisingly large hit because we're on a lot of menus, and that's a really hard place to get. The on-premise menu business is a really good one because they're like buying all the time. They have a hot Friday night and they blow through a case, and that's our automatic reorder. So from a business standpoint, it's super important. But that was not the game that we're here to play. So I had to just take that hit and explain it 50,000 times why it's gone. And it was the right decision completely. And now the discussion is how long should bonded exist? That's one discussion. Another one is because we're doing the rye label soon, and that gives us kind of a bite at the apple on label design and wording. And what does this label need? It doesn't have a barrel number. I think that would be super helpful. If you it's single barrel, so if you buy one and you like it, then you want to buy more from that barrel if you can. That's the single barrel world.
Sure.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So now you just have like a fingerprint of ABV and age by the month. Month is kind of childish, I guess. Like toddlers talk about their age in months. For me, it was just I just didn't have the money to be printing a bunch of labels. So in order to get them to 27.5 cents, you need to print a lot of them.
Yes.
And they needed to work. So I did months, and I did, handwritten ABV, handwritten age. So at some point in the future, that may change as well, because I want to move to like a 6-year minimum. So they may just say 6 years and have a barrel number. A lot of brands do that, and then they'll say somewhere else like what it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. That's fine. You can read another label and see that it's way older than that. That's all right. People are totally fine with it.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm considering as well.
And it's such like a because you never know the reaction to a move like that, because like again, like coming from like the Scotch side of things, like people who had like vintages, like where it was like an 83 vintage Ball Blair from the Highlands or something like that, and then all of a sudden Ball Blair moves to only doing a 12, 15, 20, and a 25. And some people are like, well, that makes sense for consistency and within their core lineup and stuff like that. But other people like, we really thought that it was cool to have that like 83. It's like a birth year, like it was 89. That like you could like
Get it?
Yeah, but from a cost point of view, yeah, it makes more
Does
sense.
It make
I don't
better
know.
whiskey though?
Oh, I don't know if it does. Like, I mean, I don't know if it does. I mean, that's the thing, because I don't know. I've tried since, like, so I've tried like where like, hey, the vintages, and then you try the ones where they're actually just specific age stated. And you're right. I don't know that the whiskey's any less. It's just I think there's a nostalgic, almost like renegade, like a renegade attitude to it. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to do this. So then I'm like, well, then that's different. That's cool, and I appreciate yeah.
I love the renegade attitude.
I know you do.
And I think too, some of these companies, really all of them, at a certain point when they become corporate,
Yeah.
the accountants get involved, and I really don't want nothing against accountants, but I really don't want accountants making whiskey decisions.
No.
Right.
I agree.
I could really say a lot of things right now about what accountants have done to some brands, and
yeah,
a lot of things make a lot of sense, and some. Oh my goodness!
Money sense is not whiskey sense. They just don't. They're not the same.
Technically, we don't have a filter here, so you could say whatever the fuck you want, and we're fine with it.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah,
I know.
100%.
I can give you examples, but it's just by the time those decisions become whiskey,
yeah,
the people that made those decisions aren't there anymore.
Exactly.
So, like, was it really the right thing to do? And I really hate that. I hate it when people, somewhere in that 6-year mark, change jobs and they're gone, and everything that they did, they were so proud of and were talking about in the magazines, and now they're gone. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why are you gone? What you've been working on is finally in a bottle. Where are you?
I know. And
You know what I mean?
And especially in an industry like this, where like
it's sad.
The fruits of your labor you don't see for many years a lot of times.
That is correct.
So it's just like you have to have that patience. So you're like, where if you are still a part of it, then let's go. You know what I mean? Like let's see where the next step is. So yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Different mindset, right? So when I have a bump in the road, like, I gotta live through it.
Yeah.
I can't just change jobs.
Yeah.
You can't?
Oh, I don't think you should. Let me just point that out there. I don't think you should. Please don't.
Well, I'm not saying leave whiskey, but you could leave your. Not everybody knows what you actually do for a living on the side besides this. So,
and that's changing over time too. Like,
yeah,
the math is kind of swinging our way. So that's really positive, and oh man, did I ever need it. So the people that are listening that don't really understand what's happened here, but I 100% bootstrapped this business. So I own a different company that I work in very hard, and it was a mature company, and the revenue from that, all of it, funded whiskey production. So that meant, on the good side, that meant no banks, no investors, right? I don't get the 3 a.m. call saying, hey, we need cupcake flavored vodka because that's the new thing. Right? I don't get that call.
Yeah.
The investor has to be nice to. I don't have to deal with that. But I do have to earn the money first. So it is extremely difficult. And so yeah, that is kind of, we're in that shift point now where if I wanted to be profitable, I could. But that's really not the point. The point is what's best for the whiskey. And if if the business can fund itself, which it's doing, it's doing that this year and last year as well. That's great. That just takes stress off of me, and it lets me be more creative. It lets me spend time, grading barrels and getting into the weeds of some of these little, kind of technical things that I need to spend time on. So in that regard, it is definitely positive for the whiskey, and plus making the business more efficient in terms of like production. So
Yeah.
because we have a new distillery, we just built a new plant.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's not in production. We don't even have building permits here, so I just built it. Haven't told anyone. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Now you
There's
just
advantages.
told about 12
You
of our
just-
listeners.
Dude,
Yeah.
there's advantages for rural Alabama, let me tell you. There's some disadvantages too,
Yeah.
but you got to use those advantages to your benefit. But yeah, we have
Yeah.
a new plant, and it's being arranged based on my last 12 years experience
Awesome.
to make the best whiskey possible, but to do it in a way that's time efficient and lower stress, less potential for error, these kinds of things. So
Yeah.
like that's super important too, because you're going to scale up. You don't want to scale up mistakes. You want to scale up like your refined skills.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
so
does.
I actually have a question that would go very well with this technical stuff.
Cool.
I watched you in another interview with Bourbon Departed, and to preface this a little bit, there's been a lot of talk on this podcast about single malts. Okay. And I know you really don't know me, but I don't love single
She does
malts
not like
really
them
at
at all.
all. And I think
We've been trying.
it's
Don't
it's
try.
just not.
Oh.
Yeah.
She's probably more right than you guys.
Okay, so here
Okay.
I'm going. So we got to go a little further with this. So
Yeah.
I swore the first time I ever tried single malts, I had a headache the next day, and I was so mad.
Uh-oh.
And then, so in this
She wants to drink other
interview,
whiskey like that day, Seth.
you
so don't
talked
let her.
about
Fusel
deep cuts and fusel oils
Mhm.
causing headaches for you.
110%.
And I wanted you to expand on that for me, because everybody thought I was nuts.
I thought you were
And
still
I don't
nuts.
think I'm nuts.
You're not nuts.
No, she's crazy.
No, and look, depending on what bourbon you're drinking too, it can be heavy in fusel oil as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just an observation that I've made with myself,
Okay.
and you're having a similar observation. So I needed to mitigate risk as much as possible, making bourbon in Alabama, which no one was doing. The market, didn't exist. So I needed to eliminate error. So everywhere I could find error to eliminate, I did my best to eliminate it. So what I wanted a white whiskey that was as delicious as possible. And that's from Heartcut. And it's just a higher quality distillate. It just is. So if you can eliminate heads and you can eliminate tails, it's better. It just is better. And I think as a consumer, it's actually, I can't say it's good for you, but I think it's better in the same way that if you're eating a processed food versus like a homemade from scratch food.
Organic.
I was going to say, do you think that would be like, would you call it maybe like cleaner? Would that be a way to describe it, or no?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's oil. It's a fusel oil. It has a very high boiling point. So if, for me, if I drink a bourbon with a lot of fusel oil in it, well, first of all, I probably wouldn't, because I don't like it. And
How
I
do I
know
know? That's what I need to figure out.
bananas. If you taste bananas, it's not for you.
Stop. Okay.
It's not for you. If it's really oily, then you need to start asking questions.
Okay.
So, like, our bourbon is really oily, and that's intentional. But the oil is from oat. Oats are extremely oily. There's a reason why you put oat in a stout to make it creamy and have a pleasant mouthfeel. Well, that's really what Dettling bourbon is an oatmeal stout as a bourbon. That's really what it is, in its core. And oat in whiskey is very oily, and so it coats the palate. It takes a little while for the oil to kind of clear your palate, so your finish is longer. So you have that added benefit. So it extends the finish. It gives a pleasant mouthfeel, but it's not from fusel oil. Oats are really clean. It's like just having some butter on a steak. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like the roasted malts are very tiny percentage, but like they're super impactful. So if you had from a culinary standpoint, if you had like a compound butter where you spent a lot of time making the butter fresh and you infused it, and then you're putting it on that perfect steak, how it can like really elevate that dish. Or like think about cilantro. You wouldn't want a cilantro salad, but a little bit of cilantro in that salsa is like freaking awesome.
Yeah.
A little bit. And it elevates the dish. So that's kind of what's our ingredient. So that's the other thing too. It's not just processes, but it's ingredients as well. Ingredients are super important. So we're not buying ingredients by the trainload. We're not buying ingredients based on lowest cost at all. I don't care how much any of it costs at all. What matters to me is what do they contribute to the whiskey?
Yeah. And your guys' grains are coming from like it is from the craft beer and the the baking world, really.
Baking world, yeah.
Yeah. So
I love the baking world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, chefs have known this like since the beginning of time. If you wouldn't like from them, they're cooking with wine. So if you wouldn't drink the wine, why would you cook with the wine?
Agreed. Yes.
Okay. Well, if you wouldn't eat the ingredient, why would you drink the ingredient? Like if a grape is crap, why would you make wine with it?
Right.
Okay, so like our grains, one of the things we do when people come here to do a barrel pick is I basically make them eat raw grain.
That's so cool.
It's
so
delicious, by the way. Some of them taste like grape nuts. Some of them taste like coffee and chocolate. Those are from Germany. The rye is from you mentioned baking industry. The rye is from the baking industry. So the rye bread. Again, if it doesn't make great bread, why would they
make good?
Yeah, they're not. That's what horses eat. What is being used to make rye whiskey? Like it's literally horse feed. People are not using baking ingredients to make rye whiskey.
No.
People like me
horse
are.
feed,
But
though.
And rye is fire. And rye is fiery. Like it's a fiery grain. It'll fuck up a whole day sometimes.
Brian, did you say how would you know?
Yeah, well,
I grew up with horses.
Yeah, he's actually a horse. I don't know.
Of course.
So yeah, so
he's just standing like this.
I got some rye from a feed store, and I made whiskey with it, not to make whiskey, but to just I was trying to figure something out with equipment, and I didn't want to use something that was expensive because it was all just a throwaway, and it tasted exactly like the rye whiskeys that are from a particular state. Like it's unbelievable, and I never was able to shake it.
Yeah.
It's got that. If you ride motorcycles, you ever been hit in the head with a bug, or if you have bugs like on your grill of your car, and it's hot and it's got that smell.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of rye whiskey tastes like to me.
There's gonna be about 4 people that listen to our podcast right now. Be like, I fucking know that.
Yeah.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's really gross because bugs eat grass and rye is grass. And so when you smack a bug and you smell the bug, you're smelling that bitter grass
Everything it can
smell that I associate negatively because I did the experiment with the food plot rye and it was crap. Whereas the stuff from the baking industry is, what it tastes like? Mint. It tastes like bread. Like, tell me that's not going to be good whiskey. Like, that's 100% going to be good whiskey. So, from a culinary standpoint, like that's your foundation, right? On a rye whiskey, it's rye. So, if it's bready and minty, let's just start adding some flavors to it. Mint. I don't know what's good with mint. I don't know, chocolate.
Oh.
Chocolate's pretty fucking good with mint. So, okay, so let's take rye that's malted in Germany, roasted to dark roast, so it has the chocolate notes, and let's incorporate that. So now you have basically cast strength junior mint.
Son of a bitch. What did I say earlier, Adrian?
I love eating chocolate. He talked about a peppermint patty earlier before you got on, but I love eating chocolate while drinking whiskey, dark chocolate specifically. But
so
that is,
and I'm a wild turkey fan too. I'll just tell you straight up, like,
wild turkey.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Now it's hot sometimes, and I don't love that. I don't love that it makes my lips tingle and burn. I'm not a fan of that, but like
some like the rare breeds.
Turkey.
Yeah, some of the rare breeds are a little hot sometimes. Yeah.
Well, even that Ruffles 15, I got that somewhere here, but
oh, you got that one?
Yeah, it's right.
No, someone
behind me as well.
I don't have the bottle. Someone gave it to me, like a sample.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So anyone listening, if you have a bottle that you think I need to taste, right, especially if it's vintage, message us on social media because it's super important. Because you'd be amazed at all the really interesting, important whiskeys that people have sent me, and I've been able to learn from them.
Well, I think that is it, right?
And it helps me. It super helps me.
Yeah, that has to be. There is definitely some that I would love to send you, dude. But I know we do. Yeah, I know we have. So we're gonna switch things up because we're gonna get back to nerdy. I'm not done.
Well, I'm gonna interrupt Martin right now because he talks way too much.
I talk a lot.
Yeah, he does. We always ask a random weird question throughout every single one of our interviews just to get you in a different mindset. And it has to deal with squirrels. And the reason for this right now, no, trust me, I'm the fucking same way every single time someone said squirrel.
My dog. He sneezed and scared me.
You were looking for a squirrel for a second.
No, it was an English lab sneezing.
Oh.
The reason we asked this question is Martin saw Adrian, and Adrian had a squirrel in her window.
This story changes so much.
Yeah, I don't know. It always changes every single time we tell it.
It's not the story.
Anyway, but we have a squirrel.
You can go with it, though.
For you. Yeah. If you had a squirrel to do your dirty work or work at the distillery or in your life, what would be the first thing you would have it do? And why?
I don't know. Like, actually, I raised a squirrel one time. Yeah, it was our other. It was It's such a stupid, sad story because it's the same thing that happens on YouTube all the time. You get a little wild animal, and then you spend 6 months hand feeding. Like I literally, I'm not kidding. I woke up every 2 hours at night to hand feed with a bottle this little baby squirrel. I named him Rocky.
I need more alcohol for this story.
Rocky was so sweet. And then when it was time for Rocky to go live in the yard, he was eaten by a dog with like 10 minutes. He was gone.
I'm so sorry.
Was it?
Oh,
Joey
it's
too?
okay.
Yeah,
It's
but like, yeah.
yeah, squirrels. So and we have squirrels at the plant, and like we're outdoors. We have an outdoor distillery, and so we don't have to like pick up our corn when we drop it everywhere. We just leave it because in the morning it's not there.
Squirrels do it.
They eat and they're fat.
They're like the ones that they like a bare knuckle box. You know what I mean? They look
Yeah.
like I remember when I lived in Colorado. Like there was like when I moved there, and there was they were obviously fattening themselves up for the winter. And I just moved there in the winter, and like my dog is like 10 pounds. I'm like, and he's barking. I'm like, I don't think you can take him. I'm like, just like, I don't think you can fight them. I'm like, they're way bigger than you. Like, look at it, look at his gut, dude. Like, I'm like, yeah, he's no, but I get it.
But our English lab, he can't catch squirrels, but so we bought him a stuffed squirrel, and he ran around with that thing
It's good,
like
dude.
it was real to him, and he ran around. He's so proud of himself. Where's your squirrel? Where's your squirrel? And he just run around with it. It was
Walk up,
awesome.
be like look up, be like,
Yeah, look at me, look what I got. He's all,
like you did get that. You did do that yourself.
Good job. Thank you.
Good job. Good job, Pooch.
Yeah.
His name's Pooch.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Pooch and
good.
Mash.
Pooch? That is that really the names of the dogs?
Yeah. So
I
you're
love
required
that,
to
dude.
have an alcohol related name if you're an animal here.
Oh,
So like we have a pig, and the pig's name's Hendrix.
okay.
And if you see
I love
Hendrix, you
that.
would understand how he got his name, because he's like this little short, black, little round, fat thing with a little
Plays
tiny
guitar.
little nose sticking out. I mean, he's identical to the bottle.
Oh,
Yeah.
that bot. Okay, the Martin was
Yeah,
going
the
Got
gin.
it.
guitar player.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I was thinking of the gin. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
100%.
Hendrix gin.
Well, he said.
Yeah. Get with the program. We're talking about alcohol.
Well, yeah, it was,
Yeah, the
Well,
bottle is
technically-
short.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even drink gin. And I knew that.
I don't either. I've wanted to start drinking gin. Is there like a gin that I should like drink or no?
No, it's gin.
Yeah, I don't like gin.
I just like one. Like,
But
there was
I
a
don't
guy,
like I don't really like single malts either.
Okay. One of these days we're gonna change your fucking mind, dude. Like,
He told me I was right, so I'm
No,
taking that to the grave.
you're probably right.
I'm not a fan of American single malt as a
Depends
trend.
on where you get the malt, like you stated, and
I
how you
just think-
distill it and process it.
It doesn't mean that you can't make good whiskey.
No.
It's counter to what the market has been saying for a very long time, what the market wants. And I've kind of learned that as a very expensive lesson is don't innovate to the point that you have to explain yourself. Because that is a really hard sell. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not in the spirit categories that aren't bourbon and aren't rye. Right? They have a history. People have their perceptions about rye, and that's totally fine. I get it. We're not making enough rye that's going to be a problem for me. Because the ones that try it are going to be like, I do like rye.
Yeah.
I love rye. In fact, rye is my new favorite thing in the whole world. And that's great. That's what that's impact. That's what we want to do. But, bourbon in rye in America is Iron Root, and our American palate, brown, and hang on.
You're good.
Sorry, it's my fire chief. is brown spirits without food coloring, where with American oak, like that's our palate. And if you innovate too far out of that, then now you're explaining yourself. So, and I've been on these tasting events where you have something that's kind of unique. And, hey, do you want to try this? And you're like, no. You hear that over and over and over. No, I'm not interested.
Okay.
Would you like to try some bourbon? Yes, I would.
Yeah.
You know, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's people aren't wrong. You know, I don't want to spend my money trying to convince someone they're wrong. I'm just going to go with it. So, good luck, American Single Malt.
Yeah. No, I
Go blaze the trail.
Yeah.
There's
in
one
40
that
years.
I've tried. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Tell me.
No. So there's one single malt that I've tried that I actually kind of liked, but it was stout cask finished. That would kind of explain probably why I kind of liked it.
Okay. So if the whiskey's so good, why is it finished?
Well, not arguing you at all on that because I'm not a big finished whiskey kind of girl, but I'm just pointing that out. So, but anyway,
if Dettling is ever finished, you know one of two things has happened.
You died.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
I am dead, or I took investors.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Noted.
You just answered the questions. Like when I pose questions to the group, that was one. Like they ever finish whiskey. I'm like, I can guarantee you they'll never finish whiskey.
Never.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Never, ever.
Yeah.
Because if your whiskey is awesome, why would you put it in something?
Yep. And it is a trend.
Amen.
It definitely is a trend.
And the trend started when the barrel shortage, the current barrel shortage, went crazy. So that kind of exposed a little hidden secret, a little hidden industry secret.
Yes.
That I did not know, but when I was exposed to it, I was very surprised. So where a lot of these brands are coming from is the second oak. So these cooperages are very skilled, the older ones, and they will design a barrel for your brand based on your source whiskey to then turn it into a different profile. Okay? They all do it. All the big names do it. It's totally normal. But when the barrel shortage happened and they had to start saying no to customers, all of a sudden, all right, if you're stuck with X number of barrels of MGP 21%, you know, grandpa's recipe, right? What are you going to do with it? You got to stick it in something. And that's where all this crap started.
Yeah.
And really got to be a thing. And I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Even when it's good. Because sometimes it is. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it is.
I'm not hating.
I'm not hating either.
Not what I'm grabbing. If I have a
just discriminating.
Hey, we had an awesome one recently, and that bottle got wiped out at my house quick. It was finished. Man, they just did a fantastic job. It was so good. But you know, it's finished whiskey.
It is, and I think it's got to complement. It cannot be the only good factor of it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like it cannot be the only reason why it's good is because it was finished in Oloroso or a PX or a rum or whatever it's finished in. That can't be why it's good. That complement has to be like this made it better.
Yeah. This one was 100% good for the starting point on this whiskey. I could tell was It
was
was
good.
it was good. Yeah, and I know exactly what it was. I mean, it was a high age statement MGP, which is that's not easy to find
No.
anymore. Like it used to be, but those 8 and 10-year-old MGP barrels are pretty tough. Of course, like why not just sell it? But that's okay. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it, but it's finished whiskey, and it's just
Yeah,
Milli Vanilli. They did a great job lip syncing.
they did.
I mean, they
Damn,
could
that was a
dance.
good
Not
reference.
wrong.
They
Damn.
could
Yeah, it
dance.
was.
They could dance really good at
They
the same
could.
time. Remember?
I remember them. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember.
like
I
two of
just was
them.
singing the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Millie and Vanilli.
I know. They did
Yeah.
a great job. But like,
sorry. Joe put in the comments, "Girl, you know it's true." So-
girl, it's true.
Oh, that's great.
But
that's good. Dude.
it's like you see my point. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, 1,000 years from now, no one's gonna be at Juilliard learning a million song.
No.
It's just not happening.
They don't even remember that.
Right?
Nope.
Never say never. I
And-
may
and-
put it in a vault in the safe and then fucking throw it in the ocean.
It's gonna go in a
What?
time capsule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Vanilli's solo career, which I don't think went off that well. So.
Oh, they had
my
one?
Gosh.
Yeah. You remember that?
No, I missed that completely.
It was a whole solo career.
Oh.
I miss that too.
Yeah.
Just the head.
Child of
Wait.
the 80s, dude. So I know we have a couple Seth, I gotta be honest, I think when it comes to questions for somebody, this might be the most questions we've ever had for a interview.
Oh yeah, just hit me with it. What do you got?
Yeah. So I have we're gonna these are kind of like easy outro ones. I had so many others, but really, is there any releases that obviously we talked about the rye? I want to know more about the spiral cut. I was going to add a whole question around spiral cut. I want people to know what that is because I feel like a lot of people don't know what that is, but I know that is that. I think I'll ask the easy version of it real quick.
Spiral cut.
Is that going to be most of the rye releases?
No, I don't think so. I think I've learned a lot about spiral cut. What spiral cut is, and you can find these. Wilderness Trail, some of the earlier Wilderness Trail bottles that had the little side label on them that would have like little initials. So I kind of wish I had one handy. I actually do. There's a place where it says you have age, and then it says barrel, and then it'll have these initials, and it'll say ISC pound 4, which is what mine had. Yes. And I bought that one for this particular reason because it's a rye from Wilderness Trail, and it's a single barrel cast strength. It says ISC pound 4. That means Independent Stave Company, number 4 char, and their number 4 chars are spiral cut. So they build the barrel, the body of the barrel, and it's got these big heavy hoops on it during this phase. And they char it to a 4, and then it goes to a router that mills out a groove through the entire thing, like rifling on a barrel. But all that material stays in the barrel. So the millings stay in the barrel. And then the barrel's constructed. And when you fill it, we have a bunch of these. And when you fill it, it's got like, I don't know, maybe like this much of char and milled oak. Like, think about like coffee grounds, like just 2 giant scoops of it. So when the whiskey's in there, it can go through the char, it can bypass the char and go in the groove, go in the oak and come up the flavor layer, it can come out the char. Like, it's got infinite possibilities of what it wants to do. Great example of a number 4 char spiral cut. Angel Share has on Friday, I think they get a barrel pick that's number 4 spiral cut. R&L gets a single barrel in Delaware that is a number 4 spiral cut. So if you're in Maryland or Delaware, those are two really, like this week, you can see what the number 4 spiral cuts are all about.
Yeah.
But they're really special. Yield is a problem with those. There's some other issues, but like heavy tobacco and lots of color, and there's a sweetness to them too that is really nice, that I really like.
Well, I had no plans of going to New England this weekend, Seth, but I you know what I mean? Like sometimes things happen.
Stop by and pick me up.
Yeah.
I'll be on my way, dude.
So if you're in Maryland or Delaware, like this is a great week. You need to make plans.
Yeah, no, that's
yeah,
cool.
for Halloween. Go there.
Go to New England. Go
Yeah.
to those
So
states.
the Maryland pick is like pumpkin orange wax, and the R&L pick has a silver sticker on it, and it says R&L Liquors, and it's green wax.
Nice.
Both of them are on our Facebook, and they may be both on Instagram as well. I'm the one that does all that stuff, so I don't do a good job of it. But hopefully they're both there, so you can see them and see the store and click the link and like figure out what store it is.
Yeah,
but those are awesome barrels.
I'm so bad with Facebook, man. Like I forget that I have a Facebook. You know what I mean? Like
faceplate.
I do
Facebook.
too. Sometimes, to be fair, I do too.
I know, but like you reach a different audience. I mean, you'd be amazed.
Yes,
Facebook
absolutely.
for a totally different group, and
it's so different.
Like they do really well. I can make one post on there and I can blow out something. So like, yeah, it's good.
Adrian, you want to ask him the question?
Yeah, actually, we
have a very specific
we all
question.
love this question, but I usually get to ask it. So we always like to ask people if they have a favorite whiskey memory, and it could be from any time in your life. It could be associated with anything. Just a memory that is a whiskey memory that you want to share.
Yeah, I'm in Germany. I'm with the master blender of Aspect. We're in a bar. There's a bottle on a little cart that doesn't have a label on it. It has a handwritten tag, and it says Carl Jung -15. And I didn't know who Carl Jung was at the time. Very famous psychological author. All of modern psychology comes from Carl Jung. He was a brandy distiller as well, apparently. And he was in this town in Germany and hid his very best brandy because the Russians were coming. It turns out the Americans took the town and drank everything he had. But they never found the stash. And right before I got there, they were doing work on the building, and they found the wall of brandy.
What?
I know. From 1939, I think. Lord, I have all this information. Yes, I have all this information. So I'm with one of the premier brandy blenders in the world. And we have one of the most important brandies maybe ever. And it's here, and you can drink it. I was like, I have to. Yeah. So the owner came over and told us the whole story, and we drank the whole bottle actually. And
yes.
I gotta tell you,
good night.
Y'all, it was epic. All right. If anytime you get an opportunity to have vintage distillate, it's usually two extremes. It's usually garbage.
Yep.
Or it's just alters your whole perception of what's possible.
Yeah.
Yes. This brandy was fresh. It was bright. it was in focus, and the master blender was like, oh, they had a lot of, I don't even remember what varietal from, some region of France that he could pick up, because that's what he does. And it's like, a typical blend for them, 17, 18, 19 varietals. So like, he's like, just knows his shit. And I'm just writing it as fast as notes.
Right.
And so I'm in a strange place and just stumbled onto something that was absolutely magical. And I'll probably never get to experience anything anywhere close to that. But that's my like cherry on top. Like that, to me,
That's
wow.
without a doubt one
That's
of the best
awesome.
memories that's
Yeah.
ever been shared. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. That was
that
incredible.
one. Oh,
That just makes
amazing.
all our memories look sad.
Well, I
And
mean,
you know what's funny?
it adds to the memories. It adds to the memories.
Here's what's funny. Like, no one cared.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
They did not care. They're like, oh, that's Carl. Yeah, Carl Young. Yeah, Carl Young made that. Yeah, whatever. 15 euros. Do you want an ounce? Like, they did not care. They did not care. If things are old, they're used to old.
Mm-hmm.
We're not used to old. The whole damn
Right,
country's 200-something years old. Like, we're not used to old.
No.
Right.
We're,
Yes.
I'm in a house that's 500 years old. Like, that blew my mind. You can't, it's unbelievable to us. Like, our country is so young.
So young.
It's so young. We just don't know yet. So for them, honestly, they did not appreciate it. I don't think.
But
the master blender of Aspect did. He 100%.
But you had that moment like where you're like, I understand what's happening right now. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah. And like my great uncle drowned in a river over there in World War II. Like it's super real. It's super real.
So insane.
And to see the Black Forest, and I mean,
yeah, well, God, yeah.
I mean, dude, I will never look at any of this stuff the same after that experience.
Yeah,
it's a real blessing. So it gives me that perspective, like something that someone has so much passion. I mean, he hid his very best stuff, right?
Yes, we get it.
He hid his very best stuff, and I got to drink it.
That's
and
so cool,
it's
man.
like
That's baffling.
That's so
I'm not.
cool, man.
I don't think I'm topping that one.
No,
he's your guardian angel now, probably.
Yeah, probably. He's psycho-evaluating me, like,
I was gonna say, It's like,
your whiskey's not the best at this time. You gotta keep going.
Yeah, my brandy's better.
He's like, why do you like a 6 grain?
And I will tell you too, like, there was no sugar in this. Nice. This was just straight distillate off of the pot still,
like unadulterated.
100%.
That's
so
cool.
The original stuff had it right, and I think if we got back to that, like everything, everything would change. Rum would become interesting, brandy would become interesting. Like all of these things would become insanely interesting. But until that happens, it's just tequila too. That's another one.
Like I know Brian has already told me about 20 times to stop asking you questions because I have rum questions.
No.
I know, but I have rum questions for them, man.
We can ask afterwards, and then we can surprise people with the answers.
I know. It just is like when I get someone in here that obviously, like, I'm obviously a big fan of their whiskey, and I have so many questions, and to scratch someone's brain is like one of my favorite things to do. But you're right, we asked a lot of questions tonight. So Brian, if you want to take us out, and I'll take us out. Take us out.
Well, I mean, you got to do one thing, Martin.
I have one job, Seth.
What is it?
My
one job.
My one job is to talk and then to do a sponsorship at the end of this.
Cool.
I don't know why they trust me for this, to be honest with you, but basically what I have to say
is
no one does. No one, you shouldn't trust me. So basically I want to thank our sponsors right now. Sponsor, sorry, Patty. Sponsor 10th Mountain Whiskey. You can find them on all social media platforms on 10thwhiskey.com. You can also use code. Guys, there's a new code. There's a new code. It's at the bottom of the screen. It's BWF15 for a discount. You can go on there, put BWF15, you get a 15% discount. You can get whiskey, you can get shirts, you can get hats and all these kind of things. But you can definitely go there, check out their products. They're in 41 different states through online distribution and 28 states across the country through regular retail distribution. If you guys have questions, again, go to 10thwhiskey.com. They are a sponsor. Thank you, 10th Mountain Whiskey, for being our sponsor.
Yeah, thank you, 10th. Those guys are badass, by the way.
Shout outs 10. Shout outs 10.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
I bet they
You
appreciate
guys
that.
great.
killing bad guys off of a horse, like that's like I'm for that. Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
I haven't done that in a
that's
while,
cool.
but yeah, that too.
I'm
everybody.
on board.
I'm on board.
Seth,
So-
thank you so much for joining.
Yeah,
it was
honestly,
a
dude.
pleasure.
My
It's always
pleasure.
been an honor. And then we're gonna have to come down there and maybe do a BWF pick with you sometime and
Yes.
Well,
donate that to charity.
Yeah, the 2026 calendar will be open for barrel picks sometime in
Ooh.
the summer next year. So
You might have to do that. Yeah.
yeah, we're totally booked through the whole year.
Nice.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
awesome. I'm
That's
so happy
really
for
good.
you for that.
You should.
It's really
That's
good.
awesome.
And Joe, I don't know if you're doing your job back there, but can you put the Dettling website there? Thank you, Joe. Wow, that's so cool having a producer, dude.
Yeah.
It's
Forward
really
slash
cool.
shop.
You know what I mean? Like we actually
There we
we
go.
did not get to mention that, guys. Dettling is every once in a while dropping some cool like picks in their shop. It's like right, Seth. It's every once in a while.
Yeah, www.dettling1867.com/shop.
Okay.
And there's some private areas of that website as
There
well.
it is.
You need the www though.
Yeah.
Well, he's not smart. Don't try to correct
But
Joe
the-
all the time.
But there's
Put WWE.
there's password protected sections that so that if you have barrel pick and you need it online, you have your own portal where you can move your stuff. /shop is going to be the public side. The next gold release will be through /shop.
Nice.
And
Perfect.
that's to let people have a chance at it. It's too hard to find otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
All
please
right,
guys,
everybody.
check them
Cool.
out. Check out.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely,
No,
man.
thank you.
Thank you,
Seth,
man.
for
Oh,
everything
my
that you've
pleasure.
been doing. You have taught us a tremendous amount about your company, about yourself, about your family, and about your experiences in whiskey in general. And we're excited to share that with the
Yeah,
world,
man.
along with drinking a little bit more of your phenomenal bourbon and
Awesome.
possibly coming down there and
Yeah.
pulling some of your rye.
Well, please do.
Yeah.
Please do. Hey, April 5th is Dettling Rye Launch, Brandon, Mississippi, Spillway Liquors. April 5th. It's up near Tennessee.
Okay.
Y'all need to make plans. If you're listening, make plans to be there. Brandon, Mississippi is an awesome place, and it's like super cool people. It'll be 1,000 people there minimum. Like by 10 in the morning, it'll be 1,000 people. But they handle the crowds extremely well. You'll have a chance. You will leave with a bottle that you're excited about. Dettling Rye will be there. We're launching. That's the first chance you get to buy a bottle. It's going to be at Brandon, Mississippi, April 5th next year.
Excited.
Well, there we go. You guys heard it. You need to be there on April 5th. If you
please come, I'll be there.
Well, fuck. Then now you guys have to go because Seth.
Now
is
you
gonna
have
be
to
there,
go,
so.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening, no matter where you're at in the world. And remember, a bourbon with friends can change the world. Have a great day or night, and thank you for
Cheers,
joining.
people. Cheers, people.
Cheers,
Thank
everybody.
you, Seth.
Cheers.
That's it for this episode of Bourbon with Friends. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a review to make it easier for others to find the show. You can also check us out on Instagram at BWF Podcast. Thanks for listening.